Welcome back to this Friday Eve edition of The Sweat. I'm Jesse, he's Emerson, and we've got RotoWire senior hockey writer Paul Bruno here for Paul's Puck Picks. So 8-game NHL slate coming our way this evening. Paul, we need you to give us your DFS and sportsbook plays.
All right, let's start with the centers here, dude. Austin Matthews leading the position in salary, $9,300, coming off a 3-point night against Columbus. Then you have Alexander Barkov going up against that same Blue Jackets team Matthews just torched. So are you looking at one of these two guys as your favorite play up the middle tonight?
No, there's three cheaper ones that make a little more sense. They got better matchups. Sidney Crosby, for instance, versus the Devils, they're going to throw out a third-string goalie against him, and he's been on fire. 36 shots on goal and 13 points his last 10 outings. Patrice Bergeron reunited with his usual partners and suspects on the top line in Boston. They're facing Seattle in Seattle. The Bruins are rolling. The Kraken are not. Teams are headed in opposite directions, so take the Bruins big line, maybe as a whole, but certainly Bergeron for sure. And then Elias Lindholm, priced cheaper than these two guys, still centering the hottest line in hockey, $6,900 his price tab, and he too gets a pretty nice matchup tonight against the Canucks, who've been inconsistent over the last 7 games.
All right, moving over to the wingers, Brad Marchand returns from his 6-game suspension to help the Bruins on the road in Seattle. He's going to be well rested, reunited with Patrice Bergeron on Boston's top line. So is he worth considering on the wing tonight?
Sure he is, Jesse, and I think his partner on the other side is even more of a safe bet. Pasternak back to the top line. He thrived on the second unit because he was getting exposure on their power play too. Now that he's back with the big boys, he's going to be happier, and a happy Pasternak is possibly an even more productive one. So get the mismatch opportunity in Seattle for sure. Jake Gensel riding shotgun with Sidney Crosby, priced at $7,600. That's $800 less than Pasternak for a guy who's just about as hot. 37 shots on goal in his last 10 games. They get that nice matchup against New Jersey. And finally, Jonathan Huberdeau, cheaper than both these guys, despite the fact he's right near the top of the NHL scoring list. 17 points and 29 shots on goal in his last 10 games. Very favorable matchup against Columbus, who's going to field their third-string goalie as well.
All right, dude, I'm looking at it here. We got a lot of studs on the blue line at $6,000 and up. So Yossi, Letang, Ekblad, like all with great matchups here. Should people be looking to pay up on defense?
Well, Emerson, you know that I kind of go lower on the board for defensemen, but tonight you made the case. There are 3 studs that have great matchups. Chris Letang, $7,000 against New Jersey. He's pouring it in at a point-per-game pace, and this should be a very one-sided matchup. Aaron Ekblad having a great season, best bet maybe among the top flight defenders, $6,800 tonight for a guy who's just doing everything at both ends of the ice. He's averaging 15-plus points in DK play for the last 10 games, so well worth that price tag. And I'm going to take a guy that's not really as hot as these guys, but maybe gets at least as good a matchup in Charlie McAvoy. Only 3 points in his last 10 outings. That's not good for a guy who plays power play minutes here. $6,200. I think he gets off the mat, though, and starts to produce big time with this tasty one against Seattle.
All right, Paul, we talked a lot about people you might be paying up for, but who's someone that you're going to target as a value play tonight?
Well, Michael Bunting in Toronto has been on fire, and he's riding shotgun with Marner and Matthews and thriving in that role, all of a sudden leading all rookie goal scorers and really producing of late. And he likes the going when it gets tough. It's going to be a nasty game against Minnesota, but that's when he shines the most. So I expect him to thrive tonight and pay off for the $4,900 price tag. Elias Pettersson, I'm still surprised, Jesse, that he's only $4,200, considering that he's really found his offensive game, and he reminds me of the dynamic player that burst onto the league not so long ago. So I like him, even though he's got a tough matchup tonight at that low price tag. And I like Carter Verhaeghe on the right wing on Florida's top line. They're the highest scoring team in hockey, and he's been a big part of it. And $4,000, sign me up.
All right, dude, I'm looking at it. Once again, 8 games to choose from tonight on the DK Sportsbook. Let's go there. What's your favorite bet tonight?
Well, you know I like the alternate goal total, so that's where I start and finish with 2 easy ones tonight. I think take the over on the alt line for Boston and Seattle. The Bruins are going to run up a score here, so I go as high as over 6.5 for the plus 140 payoff. And I think the same play arrives and applies in New Jersey's trip to San Jose, where the offenses are both pretty good and the defense is not so much. So I'm saying go over 6.5 to get that 155 payoff.
Paul, we're going to dive into the trade deadline a little more as we get closer, but it's now less than a month away. Rumors are already flying around across the league about who's going where. So we want to get your take on where some of the most impactful fantasy players, might land. So give us your best prediction of where these guys will be playing post-trade deadline. So how about Claude Giroux?
I think Colorado's the one that's making noise there. It makes sense to throw him in on the second line there.
All right, dude. Marc-Andre Fleury, been linked to Washington and Colorado.
Yeah, and you can throw Edmonton in the mix. They desperately need a goalie. And how about Vegas? There's rumors that the Knights may or may not get Robin Lehner back. There's conflicting reports, but I'm going to go with RotoWire's report that says he might be back in a week. So fade that and maybe look for him to wind up in Washington or Edmonton as a result.
How about JT Miller?
Well, he's been linked to the Maple Leafs and Colorado as well, and I think a return to the Rangers is possible. All three teams have a lot of cap space to fit him in, and he's going to be highly sought after. So they're going to have to pay a ransom to get this guy, but he's going to be well worth it, I think, wherever he winds up.
Jacob Chikrin, linked to Florida, LA, Boston, Toronto. Hey, come on.
Top defenders are really in demand at the trade deadline. I'm going to say New York Rangers, LA Kings, and Boston Bruins, all with needs on the back end, are going to be vying for his services.
All right, finally, John Klingberg, what do we think?
Carolina, Toronto, or Boston. I think Boston's definitely on the lookout for defensemen. You mentioned the Leafs as well, so those are the top two contenders, I think.